Hi, today is Saturday, March 25th, 2017. It's the 6th day of the 4th week of Lent, and this is a Swede Speaks. And today, or right now, I would like to talk about the law that sort of shields Scandinavia. It's not a law. It's not a part of legislation. It's sort of a cultural norm that is pretty strong in all the Scandinavian countries. At least in Sweden, Norway and Denmark, the countries that I call Scandinavia proper. Although I think that this also might be present in Finland and maybe even Iceland, but I don't know very much about Iceland. I haven't been there. I'll go there one day. Yeah. Anyway, the law I'm talking about is called Jante's law, or the law of Jante, and it was written down by the Dano-Norwegian writer Axel Sande Mose. Both the Danes and the Norwegians like to claim him. Well, he was born in Denmark, his mom was Norwegian, he died in Denmark, I think he lived in Norway for a while, but hey, he was Dano-Norwegian or Danish, whatever. And in his novel, a fugitive crosses his tracks. The novel is about, one of the things in the novel is the Danish city or the Danish town of Jante, which of course isn't a real town, but a town he made up. They think it's modeled after his birth town of Nykøbing Mors. Anyway, the law goes like this. 1. You are not to think you are anything special. 2. You are not to think you are as good as we are. 3. You are not to think you are smarter than we are. 4. You are not to convince yourself that you are better than we are. 5. You are not to think you know more than us than we do. 6. You are not to think you are more important than we are. 7. You are not to think you are good at anything. 8. You are not to laugh at us. 9. You are not to think anyone cares about you. 10. You are not to think you can teach us anything. In short, the law can be described as, you are not to think you are anyone special or that you are better than us. And there is even a penal code to the law if you break it. And the penal code is this. Perhaps you don't think we know a few things about you? And Axel Sande Mose, he wrote the book in the 30s, I think, something around then. But he really nails it there. He really nails what Scandinavia to a large extent is about. Scandinavia has been small, homogeneous countries, which is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing, which shows in Jante's law. Okay, let me tell you something personal, or, well, sort of. The first time I came across this law, it wasn't written in the article, but the first time I came across someone telling about it was when I was about 10 years old. And there was this paper that were sent out to the Swedish schools every month for second week, or I don't know. You read them in the school library. They were called Kamratposten, which, if you translate it, literally would be the comrade post. Yeah, doesn't that sound Marxist? Yeah, that's Scandinavia for you. I grew up in DDR Sweden. Now they have jihadi Sweden, but that's a digression. Anyway, in one of these papers, they interviewed a young Swedish guy who had spent 1 year living in the United States. And remember, this was before internet. There was TV, yeah, we could watch Dallas, but we didn't really know much about the world outside Sweden. So it was a little exotic. And I remember reading this article. Don't ask me which year it was. I think I was 10 or 11 years old. And I remember they asked him, what is the difference between Swedes and Americans? And he said, well, in America, you can say that you're good at something, even if you're not a world champion. If you are decently good, you can say it. But in Sweden, for instance, if you say that you're good at playing tennis, you better be able to beat Björn Borg. Maybe my English language listeners understand Björn Borg better, but you know, the famous Swedish tennis player. And that's about it. That's what it's about. And I think a lot of things can be explained by Jante's law in both Sweden and Norway and Denmark. The low level of entrepreneurship in, for instance, Sweden, the high taxes, the opinion corridor, which you have in at least Sweden and Norway. They say it's not really there in Denmark, although they have that Danish case against the guy who burned the Quran. Supposedly that's because of EU legislation, so I don't know. But I just wanted to let you know that there is actually a cultural norm behind all of this, which means it's extremely difficult for Scandinavians to stand up against a crowd. I do it anyway because, I mean, I've never been able to conform to crowds anyway. I've always sort of gone my own way. And even when I became a Christian, I sort of kept on going my own way. And if you don't like it, okay. You can't do it, okay. You can ostracize me. You can make sure that I won't be employed again. But hey, maybe I'll turn this into a business. That's what I'm praying for. Yeah, but I digress. Not important. The important part here is there is a cultural norm, because that has been around, I think, for centuries. I don't really know for how long. What Axel Sander Mose did, he just codified it. He just wrote it down. And that was brilliant. By the way, do you think that Axel Sander Mose has been called a fascist? Do you think they claim that he has been looking up to like the superhuman, and yeah, that he's had this superhuman ideology? Well, of course they said that. I don't know. I read a few of his books. I didn't find anything in them that made me think he was a fascist. But who am I to decide what was in his art? Whatever, Jante's law, that he really nailed it there. And that's what I have to say about this right now. I would like to thank the people who are supporting this channel through prayers, through PayPal, and through Patreon. And if you like this channel, please subscribe so you don't miss anything. Maybe you should also tick that little bell sign. I think it's a bell, yeah. So you get the notification every time a video comes. I think that might help actually, because YouTube is a little broken, so you know. And please like my videos if you like them. Please comment if you got something to say. Please share my videos on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And I would also like to encourage you to support this channel. That can be done through PayPal, it can be done through Patreon. Any amount, big or small, is greatly appreciated. This is A Swede Speaks. Have a nice day.